Welcome to Book Summary Podcast, your gateway to personal transformation. Each episode delivers big ideas from the world's most impactful books on mindset, productivity, and success, all in just a few minutes. Ready to turn knowledge into action? Let's get started.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here to take that stack of sources you've gathered and really break down complex ideas into something clear, something you can actually use.
That's right. And today we're tackling a big one, maybe the biggest. Passive income.
Definitely transformative. And it's a concept that, gets talked about a lot, maybe sometimes misrepresented.
Absolutely. Lots of myths out there.
Yeah.
But our sources, they give us a pretty solid framework to work with.
So what's the plan for this deep dive?
Okay, so we'll kick things off with the mindset shift. That's crucial. Then we'll get into the mechanics, especially building wealth online.
The digital streams, right?
Exactly. Then we'll cover the more traditional route stocks, real estate, and finally touch on some, let's say, advanced leveraging models.
Sounds comprehensive.
Yeah.
And the overall goal?
It all comes down to one thing. Helping you secure genuine financial freedom. That's the mission here.
Okay, let's anchor that mission. I read this anecdote in the sources. It really paints a picture. There was this entrepreneur, right? They're out having dinner, Korean place, couple of hours, totally switched off, phone away, just enjoying the meal.
Right, completely passive, offline.
Completely.
Huh.
But while they were passive, their online systems, totally active.
The automation was working.
Exactly. So they get home, check the dashboard, and in those 2 hours, over $1,000. $1,079.65 to be exact. Pure sales.
Just like that, while eating bulgogi.
Just like that. Now let's put that number, $1,079.65, in context. Why is it so striking?
Well, think about the average American worker. Prime earning years, say 35 to 64, maybe making $50,000 a year.
Okay.
That person earns about $1,000 for a whole week of active, dedicated work. 40 hours, maybe more.
This entrepreneur matched that weekly income in 120 minutes with zero active effort during that time.
That's the fundamental difference. Time for money versus automated wealth. It highlights a common confusion, too.
About the term passive income.
Yeah. The income stream itself isn't passive at all. It's active, it's generating value, it's working.
It's you who becomes the passive element.
Precisely. You're the collector. You do the work up front, build the system, create the product, and then the system pays you, hopefully repeatedly, without you having to constantly trade your time for it.
That initial feeling, though, when you get that first unexpected bit of money, a royalty check, maybe a commission you forgot about, that's pretty nice.
Oh, it's definitely a delight. And it's motivating, keeps you going, but the sources really stress 2 core reasons why pursuing this path is so important, beyond just the surprise cash.
Okay, what are they?
The big one is security.
Yeah.
True financial security.
Right.
If you can build passive income streams that add up to, say, a 6-figure annual income, and crucially, that income doesn't depend on you showing up to a job every day.
You've built a safety net.
A massive one.
Yeah.
You're operating with a level of security that, frankly, 95% of people, your friends, your neighbors, they'll likely never experience. That separation of income from your physical presence, that's the real prize.
Okay, so that brings us to the why. You framed it as trading bondage for freedom. This really requires a shift in how you even think about money, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. For anyone listening who's really into learning and self-improvement, you already know money itself isn't the end goal. It's just a tool.
A vehicle.
Exactly. A vehicle to buy security, to create options, maybe buy some nice things. But this journey into passive income demands a pretty radical rewiring of how you view work and value.
Because the ultimate goal isn't just the money.
No. The ultimate objective we're aiming for here is freedom.
Freedom. Define that in this context.
It's freedom from the constant pressure of that time for money model. That model is fundamentally limiting. When you trade hours for dollars, you're basically putting a cap on your earnings potential.
Limited by the hours in a day, how much you can physically work.
Right. And maybe even more importantly, it's freedom from the worry of losing that single paycheck.
That's huge. When your whole life, mortgage, bills, everything hangs on that one job, that one employer.
You're in a kind of financial bondage. You might hate the job, you might see a better opportunity, you might just need a break. But the fear of that paycheck stopping, it can paralyze you.
So how do you break free? It sounds daunting, like you need to build this massive system overnight.
Well, the good news is it's usually incremental. You don't just flip a switch and have a six-figure passive income on day one. It's a process.
Building blocks.
Exactly. As your passive streams start small and then grow, your dependence on that main job slowly, gradually decreases.
So you move from a place of needing to work just to cover the bills.
To a place where you're choosing to work. Maybe you still enjoy your job or parts of it. Maybe you like the challenge. But the key is it becomes a choice, not a necessity driven by fear.
That ability to choose, that feels like the ultimate luxury.
It really is. That's the freedom we're talking about.
Okay, I'm excited to build these streams. But wait, before we get to the fun part, there's a prerequisite, something we absolutely have to handle first. You called it escaping the passive expense.
That's right. Think of it as plugging a leak in your financial boat before you try to sail anywhere.
The debt hole.
Precisely. The sources mention this entrepreneur, great ideas, lots of drive, but completely stalled. Why? $20,000 in high-interest credit card debt.
Ouch.
Yeah. And that kind of consumer debt, especially credit cards charging, 20%, 25%, even 30% interest, that is the ultimate passive expense.
Because it works against you while you sleep.
Exactly. It demands money from you every single month, relentlessly, whether you're actively working or not. It's just draining your resources passively.
And the practical effect is paralysis. If you're pouring money into servicing that high-interest debt.
You simply don't have the working capital, not even the small amounts you might need to, say, register a domain name, set up basic web hosting, maybe run a tiny ad campaign to test an idea. The debt eats it all.
So step one isn't building. It's clearing the ground.
It requires a really disciplined, tactical maneuver before you put a single dollar towards a stock or building a website or anything else we'll talk about. The absolute first priority is eliminating those passive expenses.
How aggressively?
Temporarily, very aggressively. It means cutting unnecessary spending down to the bare minimum. Think of it like a short, intense financial boot camp. Maybe 90 days. Every single spare dollar gets thrown at the debt.
And strategy matters here too, right? Not just throwing money randomly.
Absolutely. The sources are clear. Pay at least twice the minimum balance each month. More if you possibly can.
And focus where?
Start with the highest interest debts first. That's the snowball or avalanche method, depending on how you frame it. Attack the most expensive debt.
Why is that so effective?
Because paying down that high interest principal faster saves you a ton of money in the long run on interest payments. Money that's purely saved, which you can then immediately redirect towards building your passive income streams once the debt is gone.
It sounds like the commitment needed just for this first step is kind of a test in itself.
It really is. It's your first major test of the discipline required for this whole passive income journey. But as those passive expenses shrink, suddenly you feel it. You have breathing room. You have capital freed up.
Even if it's just a small amount to start.
Exactly. You now have that necessary seed money, however modest, to responsibly begin building towards that goal of true freedom.
Okay, so we plugged the leak. The passive expense hole is closed, or at least we're aggressively working on it. We've stopped the bleeding. Now we have some capital, maybe just a little, to start building. But using it effectively requires another mindset shift, doesn't it? About work itself.
It really does. We have to break that traditional mindset about labor and reward.
You mean the whole hard work is its own reward idea?
Exactly. It's deeply ingrained in our culture. There's this subconscious belief almost that struggle equals worth. We sometimes look sideways at people who gain wealth without visible, traditional, hard labor.
Like somehow less legitimate.
Yeah, there can be that feeling. But to really succeed with passive income, you have to embrace a different philosophy. It's not about avoiding work altogether, especially at the start, but it is about realizing that smart automated work often yields far greater financial results than just more hours of hard, constant labor.
So how does this philosophy translate into practical differences between the old time for money model and this passive model? The sources outline some key distinctions.
Right. Let's focus on those critical differences. The first one is focus.
Okay.
In a traditional job or career, you usually adapt to what the market demands, right? You focus on developing skills the marketplace wants to buy, even if it's not your passion.
You learn what you need to learn to get paid.
Exactly. Passive income, especially in the digital space, works best when you flip that. You focus intensely on what you already know and what you genuinely love.
Why is that passion so important?
Because that intrinsic interest, that genuine curiosity, is the fuel that powers you through the initial setup phase. That's when you're putting in the active effort, building the thing, often before a single dollar comes in. If you don't love it, or at least find it deeply interesting, you'll likely burn out before it takes off.
Makes sense. What's the second difference?
Compensation. This is fundamental. In a standard job, you work 6 hours, you get paid for 6 hours. The link is direct, linear.
Time equals money.
Right. In passive income, the amount of money you earn is explicitly not tied to the specific hours you're working at that moment.
How so?
You might spend, say, an intense weekend writing a fantastic ebook or coding a useful piece of software. That's active work. But once it's done and set up to sell automatically, that single piece of work can generate revenue for months, maybe years, with very little ongoing time investment from you. The compensation is decoupled from the hours.
Okay, focus on passion, compensation decoupled from time. What's the third difference? This one seemed crucial.
It is. It's the labor goal.
The labor goal.
Yeah. The traditional model incentivizes working more hours, being more productive within those hours. The goal is often to work as hard and as long as possible to maximize earnings or climb the ladder.
Right. More input, more output.
But the core objective of a truly passive income stream is actually to work on it as little as possible once it's established.
Wait, that sounds wrong. If I want more passive income, shouldn't I be working more on the system?
Logically, you might think so, but strategically, no. Think about it this way. The sources frame this mathematically. Work invested and passive income generated should ideally vary indirectly.
Inversely, more income, less work.
Exactly. If you find yourself spending a huge amount of time maintaining the passive income stream week after week, it means the system isn't truly automated yet. It hasn't been properly delegated or standardized.
So a high passive income with low time input means the system is mature.
Precisely. It's self-sustaining. The goal isn't to be lazy, it's to maximize the ratio of income earned to hours invested. You want the highest possible return for the lowest possible ongoing effort. That's efficiency. That's leverage.
Okay, that inverse relationship principle helps avoid a common trap, right? The sources called it the Google jackpot fallacy.
Yeah, that's a big one. It's when people spend ages brainstorming business ideas based purely on what they think will make a ton of money. They chase the perceived jackpot, ignoring whether they actually have any interest or capability in that area.
Like trying to build the next big social media app with no coding skills or passion for social dynamics.
Exactly. If the only thing driving my idea is the dollar sign, you're setting yourself up for failure. Because that initial setup phase, which, remember, is always active labor, will feel like absolute torture. You won't have the internal motivation to push through the inevitable hurdles.
So instead of brainstorming for dollars,
use the interest-first approach. Ask yourself those 3 simple, honest questions. What am I genuinely interested in? What do I actually know a fair bit about? What do I love doing or learning about?
and the answer doesn't have to be mainstream or appeal to millions.
Absolutely not. This approach naturally leads you towards a specific niche, which is often where the gold lies online. Take that example from the sources. 19th century baseball stats.
Sounds incredibly specific, maybe even obscure.
It is, but that's the beauty of it. Let's say there are only maybe 10,000 people in the entire world who are really passionate about 19th century baseball stats.
Okay, seems tiny.
But it's a highly dedicated, identifiable group. If you can create something valuable specifically for them, maybe a detailed weekly newsletter analyzing obscure games, or a searchable database of rare stats.
Something they can't easily find elsewhere.
Exactly. And if you can convince just 1,000 of those 10,000 enthusiasts, just 10% to pay you, say, $10 a month for access.
Let's see, 1,000 times $10. That's $10,000 a month.
Which is $120,000 a year. From a tiny, obscure niche based on something you presumably find fascinating, that's significant passive income potential built on passion.
Okay, that makes the niche idea much more compelling.
Yeah.
But before jumping in, even if you love the topic, the sources stress the need for honest self-assessment, particularly that 1 to 5 skill rating thing.
Yes, the skill enjoyment rating. It's crucial. You rate the actual tasks involved in running this potential business.
Right.
1 means, I genuinely love doing this. I could do it all day. 5 means, ugh, I would rather do literally anything else.
And this isn't just about figuring out what you're good at.
No, it's specifically about what you enjoy. This is your defense against long-term burnout and eventual failure. If your business model absolutely requires you to, say, do detailed bookkeeping every single week, and that task is a solid 5 on your enjoyment scale.
You're going to dread it, procrastinate, do it poorly, and eventually give up.
Exactly. You use this rating to identify, right from the start, which essential tasks you need to plan to either automate or outsource the moment the business can afford it. It ensures the system's longevity because you're not relying on your willpower to do things you hate.
Makes sense. And when listing resources for potential niches, we should think broadly.
Be exhaustive. Don't just list your college degree or your current job title. Think about everything. Hobbies, passions, certifications, volunteer work, weird life experiences.
Like being a serious fashionista or a certified doula or knowing how to do extreme couponing.
Or maybe you're a dental hygienist with insights into patient anxieties, or a corporate lawyer who understands a very specific type of contract negotiation. All of these are potential niches. They're low barrier entry points because you already possess the core expertise and, likely, the passion. You just need to figure out how to package and monetize it. Hashtag C. Customer Identification and Behavior, ECB. All right, so you've hopefully landed on a niche you know and love. You know what you're potentially selling. Now, we need to get crystal clear on who you're selling to. This involves defining your target customer using 3 key measures. The first 2 are fairly standard. Objective data. Think demographics, age range, location, maybe income level if relevant.
Yeah.
Also, measurable online behavior like search frequency for keywords related to your niche.
Where do you find that objective data?
Often you, the entrepreneur who's already passionate about this niche, are the best initial source. You know, the forums they hang out in, the magazines they read, the events they attend. You can supplement that with keyword research tools, analytics, surveys.
Okay, objective data. What's the second measure?
Subjective data. This is more about the feel, the culture of the niche. What are their anecdotal traits? What are their emotional triggers? What specific jargon or slang do they use?
Why is the subjective stuff so important? Seems less concrete.
It's incredibly powerful for building trust and connection quickly. Think about that red tie example in politics, purely subjective visual cue, but focus groups showed it impacted perceived authority or likability.
Or knowing the lingo, like in the motorcycle example, knowing to say Indian motorcycles, not just motorcycle.
Exactly. Using the right terminology, referencing shared experiences or in-jokes immediately signals to your niche audience, hey, I'm one of you, I get it. It breaks down barriers and overcomes that initial skepticism people have online.
Okay, objective, subjective. What's the third measure? This ECB thing sounds critical.
It is. Expected customer behavior, ECB. This isn't about who they are, but how they predictably act online. The sources highlight 3 critical truths about online behavior that you ignore at your peril.
Okay, lay them on me. Truth number 1.
Truth number 1. Online customers generally have a psychological resistance to paying high prices for things they can't physically touch, especially simple digital products.
Meaning?
Don't expect someone to happily drop $150 on a basic PDF guide or a single video lesson delivered through your website, even if the content is amazing. There's a mental block.
So how do you sell high-value digital info?
You often need to frame it differently, maybe as a multi-module course, offer coaching calls, add community access, or simply price lower initially to overcome that friction. Lower prices often lead to dramatically higher conversion rates for purely digital goods. You refute their expectation of it being expensive.
Okay, manage price expectations for digital. Truth number 2.
Web visitors are unbelievably impatient, like goldfish-level attention spans sometimes.
Oh.
Seriously, studies consistently show most visitors bounce that they leave in under 5 minutes, often within seconds if they don't immediately see what they're looking for or if the site feels confusing.
So all those flashy websites with complex animations and deep menus, probably hurting more than helping.
Often, yes. If you've poured effort into making your site technically dazzling but slow or hard to navigate, you're likely frustrating users and driving them away. Simplicity and speed are paramount online. Clarity trumps cleverness.
Makes sense. Impatience rules. What's the third critical truth about ECB?
This one's fundamental for building any kind of sustainable online presence or brand. You must update your website or content frequently and consistently.
How frequently?
Ideally, daily, or at least every other day, especially when you're first establishing yourself and building an audience.
Why is that so important?
Because customers learn very quickly how often a site gets fresh content. They adjust their return frequency accordingly. If they visit a few times and see the exact same stuff, the same blog posts, the same last updated date,
They assume the site is dead or neglected.
exactly, they think, if they're ignoring the site, they'll probably ignore me after I buy something. Stagnation kills trust online. Consistent updates signal vitality, commitment, and reliability. It tells visitors you're engaged and trustworthy.
Okay, that ECB framework, price sensitivity, impatience, need for updates. This seems crucial for any online venture, whether you're selling info or physical goods. But let's shift specifically to e-commerce now. The sources called this,
It largely comes down to what the sources call the big five selling points. But the core reason is barriers to entry.
meaning it's harder to get started.
Exactly. The complexity, the need for some initial capital for inventory usually, the logistical planning, all of that scares off a lot of the more casual competition you might find in, say, blogging or simple affiliate marketing.
So the pool of serious competitors is smaller.
Generally, yes. If you're willing to tackle the upfront work and complexity of e-commerce, you're often entering a space where you have a better chance to carve out a significant market share and achieve high conversion rates simply because fewer people make it over that initial hurdle. The rewards can be greater because the initial commitment is higher.
Okay, so let's break down the ways to actually do e-commerce. The sources listed 3 models, ordered by complexity.
Right. And complexity here often correlates with the amount of upfront capital and risk involved. The easiest place to start is drop shipping.
Drop shipping, how does that work again?
It's beautiful in its simplicity from an inventory perspective. You, the seller, market the product. A customer buys it from your website. Only then do you purchase the item from a third party, usually a manufacturer or wholesaler.
And that third party does what?
They handle everything else. They store the product, they package it, and they ship it directly to your customer, often with your branding on the package. You never physically touch the inventory.
So minimal upfront investment in stock. What's the key passive advantage there?
Flexibility. Your main assets are digital: the website, the product listings, your marketing materials. If a particular product stops selling well, or your relationship with a supplier sours, or the market shifts.
You're not stuck with a garage full of unwanted widgets.
Exactly. You can pivot relatively easily. Switch suppliers, change your product focus. The digital nature makes it much less risky to get out of bad contracts or adapt to change compared to holding physical inventory.
Okay, drop shipping is the easiest entry. What's the next level up in complexity?
That would be wholesaling and warehousing. This is a more traditional model. Here, you do buy products in bulk, typically from a manufacturer, to get a better unit price. You store this inventory yourself, or using a third-party logistics provider, and you handle the shipping to the customer when an order comes in.
So more upfront capital needed for that bulk purchase, and you need space or systems for storage and fulfillment.
Correct. It requires a moderate investment and more logistical planning. But the upside is you have much more control over the product quality, the branding, the packaging, and crucially, the shipping speed and customer experience. This model is common in business-to-business B2B sales too.
All right, drop shipping, wholesaling. What's the most advanced e-commerce model?
That's white labeling or private labeling and potentially manufacturing.
Sounds serious.
It involves the largest upfront cash investment and the most complexity. Here, you're typically taking a generic product made by a manufacturer and putting your own brand name on it, white private labeling. Or, in the most advanced case, you're actually designing and contracting out the manufacturing of a unique product.
So you're deeply involved in product development, quality control.
Yes, quality control is huge here. You're also dealing with potentially large minimum order quantities from manufacturers and managing the entire supply chain. It offers the highest potential for unique branding and margins, but it's the least passive at the start.
And harder to get out of.
Much harder. Breaking long-term manufacturing contracts or liquidating large amounts of custom-branded inventory can be very difficult and costly if things don't go as planned. It requires significant commitment. ###Z, building the site and customer experience.
Okay, regardless of which model you choose, drop shipping, wholesale, white label, you need a website, a storefront. The sources were adamant about the design philosophy here.
Absolutely non-negotiable. Less is more, especially when you're starting out.
Forget the super fancy cutting-edge tech.
Focus on functionality first. Use established, user-friendly platforms like Squarespace or WordPress with e-commerce plugins like WooCommerce. They handle a lot of the technical heavy lifting, they're reliable, and they keep your development costs and headaches down. Your site needs to work smoothly before it needs to wow people with effects.
And usability is key. You mentioned that term shallowness earlier.
Yes, site usability online is often measured by its shallowness. How many clicks does it take for a user to accomplish their goal, especially the most important goal, buying something?
Fewer clicks equals better experience.
Dramatically better. People online have zero patience for friction. They expect instant gratification. Every extra click, every unnecessary field they have to fill out is a potential point where they just give up and leave.
Can you walk me through a shallow versus deep example again, like buying that wrench set?
Sure. A shallow site, maybe they search Google, click your ad, click 1, land directly on the wrench set product page, click 2, click add to cart, which takes them straight to checkout, click 3, maybe 4 clicks total to pay.
Okay, very direct.
A deep site, click add, 1, land on homepage, click tools category 2, click hand tools subcategory 3, click wrench sets subcategory 4, find the set, click product page 5, click add to cart, click view cart 6, click proceed to checkout, forced to register an account 7, fill out shipping 8, fill out billing 9, confirm order 10, you see.
Yeah, the friction just builds and builds. It's exhausting just hearing it.
Exactly. And that leads directly to that terrifying statistic about checkout abandonment.
The sources said over 50% of people bail during checkout.
At least. And that number climbs fast if the process feels slow, clunky, or asks for information that doesn't seem necessary. Like, why do you need my phone number and my email just to buy a wrench?
So how do you streamline that critical checkout process?
Rule number 1, outsource payment processing immediately. Use trusted professional services like Square, Stripe, PayPal. They specialize in this. Their systems are optimized for speed and security. They often allow customers to pay using saved information like Apple Pay or Google Pay, reducing manual entry. They handle the complex security compliance. It instantly makes your checkout faster and inspires more trust than some homegrown solution. Don't try to reinvent the wheel here.
Okay, fast checkout. What else builds confidence for that first-time buyer who's hesitant?
2 big things, shipping and returns. For shipping, strongly consider offering free shipping.
But shipping isn't free. How does that work?
You build the average shipping cost into your product price. Psychologically, the word free next to shipping is incredibly powerful. People hate paying for shipping way more than they mind a slightly higher product price. It removes a major point of friction at checkout.
Smart. And returns.
Have a clear, easy-to-find, and generous return policy. Ideally, no questions asked, or a simple money-back guarantee for a reasonable period, like 30 or 60 days.
Doesn't that open you up to abuse, people returning used items?
It can happen occasionally, but the data consistently shows that the vast majority of customers are honest. The immense trust and goodwill generated by a strong guarantee almost always outweighs the small cost of the few who might abuse it. It significantly boosts conversion rates, especially for buyers new to your brand.
Okay, so smooth checkout, free shipping, easy returns. How do you turn that first sale into repeat business passively?
Automation is your best friend here. Use email marketing tools, things like MailChimp, Klaviyo, HubSpot are popular.
What do you automate?
The post-purchase sequence. Immediately send an order confirmation. But don't just send a receipt. Send a message that specifically thanks them for their trust. That language matters.
Acknowledging the leap of faith they took.
Exactly. Then, maybe a day or two later, automate another email. Perhaps offer a time-sensitive discount coupon, say 10% off their next purchase if used within 14 days. This encourages immediate repeat business while they're still feeling good about their initial purchase. Keep them engaged passively. Hashtag FVIT marketing, the fastest, easiest start. Now, if even setting up drop shipping feels like too much initial logistical effort or risk, there's an even faster and potentially easier way to dip your toes into passive online income. And that's affiliate marketing.
Affiliate marketing. This is where you're essentially selling other people's stuff.
Pretty much. You earn a commission by promoting and ultimately generating a sale for another company's product or service. The beauty is you typically have zero responsibility for creating the product, holding inventory, dealing with shipping, or handling customer service for that product.
You're like a commission salesperson, but working online and ideally automating the promotion.
Exactly. You're essentially a highly motivated, performance-based referral service.
How does the company know the sale came from you?
Through unique tracking links or, more commonly, browser cookies. When someone clicks your special affiliate link, a small piece of data, the cookie, is stored in their web browser.
And that cookie tells the seller's website, hey, this person came from that affiliate's recommendation.
Right, and this is why the cookie duration offered by an affiliate program is so important.
What does that mean, cookie duration?
It's how long that tracking cookie remains active. Some might only last 24 hours, others might last 30 days, 60 days, even 90 days or more.
Why does longer matter?
Because people rarely buy immediately online, especially for more considered purchases. They might click your link today, research for a week, think about it, then finally go back to the site and buy 2 weeks later. If the cookie duration is only 24 hours, you get 0 credit. If it's 30 days or longer, you still get your commission. Always choose programs with longer cookie durations when possible.
Okay, so find good programs with long cookies. What's the overall strategy for success as an affiliate?
2 main drivers. First, consistent new lead acquisition. You always need fresh eyeballs seeing your recommendations. Second, focus on promoting higher margin offers.
Higher margin, meaning products that pay a bigger commission.
Either a higher percentage commission or a larger flat dollar amount per sale. Think about it. It takes roughly the same amount of your active effort writing the blog post, creating the video, sending the email to promote a product that pays you $5 per sale as it does one that pays $50 per sale.
So focus your effort where the potential passive return is greatest for the same amount of initial work.
Precisely. Optimize your time by promoting offers that give you the best bang for your buck, assuming they're still relevant and valuable to your audience, of course.
Now, affiliate marketing. It sometimes gets a bad rap associated with scams or spammy tactics. How do you vet programs safely?
This is where critical due diligence is absolutely essential. You need to protect yourself and your audience's trust.
What are the big red flags?
Okay, rule number 1, crystal clear. Never, ever pay money up front just for the privilege of becoming an affiliate for a legitimate product or service. Real companies pay you when you make sales for them. They don't charge you an entry fee. That's a huge warning sign.
Okay, no paying to play. What else?
Be very wary of merchant websites that look unprofessional or are overloaded with aggressive, flashing pop-up ads and banners. It often signals desperation or low quality. Trust your gut. If it feels scammy, it probably is.
And the biggest danger, pyramid schemes hiding as affiliate programs.
Yes, the absolute critical distinction. Avoid any program where the main focus seems to be on recruiting other affiliates under you, rather than on selling actual products or services to the general public.
How can you tell?
If the compensation plan heavily rewards you just for signing up new affiliates, and there's little emphasis or evidence of real customers buying the end product for its own value, run away. That's the classic structure of an illegal pyramid scheme. Legitimate affiliate commissions must primarily derive from genuine sales to end consumers.
Got it. So you found some good, legitimate programs. How do you actually promote them passively? What channels work best?
The most reliable, long-term passive channel is almost always your email list.
Building that audience you own.
Exactly. Experts often use a rule of thumb. A well-nurtured, engaged email list can potentially generate around $1 per subscriber per month in revenue averaged out.
So if you build a list of 10,000 loyal subscribers,
that's potentially $10,000 in predictable passive monthly revenue you could generate through affiliate offers, your own products, etc. It takes time to build, but it's a hugely valuable asset.
What about other methods? Paid ads, social media?
You can certainly use paid traffic platforms like Google Ads, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, but this requires significant expertise to manage effectively. Constant budget monitoring and testing. It can become very active very quickly, especially if you don't know what you're doing. Less passive, particularly at the start.
And free methods.
Free methods like creating valuable video content, YouTube, engaging organically on social media, search engine optimization, SEO for a blog. These are fantastic for generating leads over the long term. But they require a consistent investment of your time and effort to create the content and build the audience. Powerful, but definitely active work up front.
Okay, we've spent a good chunk of time in the digital world, e-commerce, affiliate marketing. Let's pivot now to the perhaps more traditional pillars of long-term wealth and passive income, financial assets, starting with the stock market.
Right. And the absolute core principle here, maybe more than anywhere else, is strategy over emotion. Discipline is paramount.
Meaning you need a plan before you invest a single dollar.
You absolutely must have a defined plan, a reason for every action, and crucially, you need the discipline to stick to it, regardless of the market's daily gyrations or the news headlines.
Because emotions are the enemy.
They really are. The moment you start making investment decisions based on greed when things are going up or panic selling based on fear when things are going down, you've abandoned your passive strategy and you're just gambling.
And the potential rewards for sticking to a disciplined strategy,
yeah,
they can be significant, right? Even a conservative approach.
Definitely. Let's take a fairly conservative example from the sources. Say your strategy aims for a modest, achievable 5% average annual return through dividends and perhaps some capital appreciation.
Okay, 5%. Seems reasonable.
If, over time, you build up a portfolio of $1 million invested according to that strategy.
5% of a million is $50,000 a year.
Exactly. $50,000 a year in passive income, which breaks down to over $4,000 per month. That's enough to significantly supplement or even completely replace active income for many people. And it comes from a relatively conservative investment approach. But it requires discipline.
So how do you maintain that discipline? What's the key?
The golden rule, according to the sources, always know why you made a specific trade. Why did you buy that particular stock or fund?
Why does knowing the why matter so much?
Because your initial reason dictates your actions when the price inevitably fluctuates. If you bought stock X because you did deep research and believed the company was fundamentally undervalued based on its earnings potential,
Right.
and then the overall market dips and stock X drops 20% along with everything else, but your fundamental reasons haven't changed, your why might logically suggest this is a buying opportunity. You can get more shares cheaper.
Right.
But if you bought stock X purely because you heard a hot tip or it was hyped on social media and then it drops 20%, your why was weak based on temporary sentiment. In that case, the logical move might be to cut your losses quickly before it falls further because the hype that drove it up is gone. Your rationale dictates whether you should sell, hold, or buy more.
That makes sense. The why anchors your decisions. The sources also pointed out a couple of common investor pitfalls to avoid. The first one was the brother-in-law investor.
Ah, yes, the classic. This is the person who acts on tips, rumors, or can't miss advice they overheard, maybe from a relative, a friend, a taxi driver, without doing any independent verification.
Just blindly following a tip.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's incredibly risky. The solution is straightforward but requires effort. Rigorous due diligence.
How so?
Verify the information yourself from multiple credible financial sources. Don't just trust the tipster. Look at the actual data. Monitor the stock's trading volume. Is anyone else actually buying this thing, or is it illiquid? And most importantly, does this stock, even if the tip were true, actually fit within your carefully defined passive income strategy? Or is it a speculative gamble you wouldn't normally take?
Okay, avoid the brother-in-law tips. What was the second major pitfall?
The emotional investor. This is the person who starts treating their investments like a favorite sports team.
Oh, you mean?
They develop loyalty to a particular stock or brand, maybe because they like the company's products or they've held it for a long time. They talk about playing the market like it's a game. They get emotionally attached.
And that attachment clouds judgment.
Completely. Investing isn't about fandom. It's about rational decision-making based on your plan. You have to be willing to be ruthless, to cut ties with an underperforming asset, even if you like the company.
The sources said success is sometimes about losing less.
That's a key insight. Sometimes the smartest move you make is recognizing a mistake early and cutting your losses quickly when your why for holding the stock is no longer valid. Letting losses run in the hope of a turnaround, driven by emotion or loyalty, can be devastating to your capital. Sell, preserve what's left, and redeploy it according to your strategy.
It's easy to forget how disconnected the market can sometimes be from the underlying economy. The historical examples were pretty stark.
They really were. Think about that period from 1964 to 1981, nearly 2 decades. The Dow Jones Industrial Average basically went nowhere. It started at 874 and ended at 875, flat.
For 17 years, while the U.S. economy itself grew massively.
Exactly. U.S. GDP grew something like 370% during that same period. Imagine the psychological pressure of holding stocks, following a buy and hold strategy, and seeing virtually zero return for almost 20 years while the world economy booms around you. It takes incredible discipline to stick to a plan through periods like that.
And the other example about the car industry.
Right? Over 2,000 different makes of U.S. cars failed during the 20th century. Thousands. Trying to pick the handful of long-term winners back then, like Ford or GM, was incredibly difficult.
The sources made a fascinating point.
Yeah, that historically you probably would have made more money betting against the horse-drawn carriage industry short-selling buggy whip manufacturers than you would have made trying to pick the winning car companies from that huge field of competitors destined for failure. It highlights the difficulty of stock picking.
So given that difficulty and the need for emotional control, what's the realistic passive income goal with stocks?
For most people seeking passive income, the goal shouldn't be swinging for the fences, trying to find the next Amazon or Tesla before anyone else. That's speculation, high risk.
So aim lower.
Aim for consistency. Focus on building a diversified portfolio of solid companies or funds that have a history of paying reliable, worthwhile dividends. Think good singles and double hitters, not necessarily volatile home run attempts. That steady dividend cash flow is your passive income stream. Predictable, reliable.
And getting started today is easier than ever, right? With technology.
Much easier. The barrier to entry is incredibly low thanks to investment apps. You don't need thousands of dollars anymore.
Like Acorns.
Yeah, Acorns is great for beginners. It rounds up your everyday purchases to the nearest dollar and invests that spare change automatically. You barely notice it, but it adds up.
And Stash.
Stash lets you buy fractional shares of stocks and ETFs based on your interests or values, starting with as little as $5. Makes it accessible.
And then there are the robo-advisors.
Right. Services like M1 Finance or Betterment. You answer questions about your goals and risk tolerance, and they automatically build and manage a diversified portfolio for you. It's very hands-off, truly passive management once it's set up. Great options for people who don't want to pick individual stocks.
Okay, stocks offer one path to passive income. Let's talk about the other major traditional asset class, real estate. The key here seems to be leverage.
Leverage is definitely a major component, but the first crucial distinction, similar to stocks, is your mindset. Are you an investor or a speculator?
What's the difference in real estate?
An investor, for passive income purposes, focuses primarily on cash flow. Does the rent generated by the property cover all the expenses, mortgage, taxes, insurance, maintenance, vacancy, and still leave a profit each month? That positive cash flow is the passive income.
Okay, investor wants monthly income. What about the speculator?
A speculator is primarily betting on appreciation. They buy a property hoping its market value will go up significantly so they can sell it later for a large profit. They might even accept negative cash flow month to month, banking on that future sale price.
Which is riskier for passive income seekers.
Speculating is far riskier and less passive. Market values can stagnate or fall. You're dependent on external market forces you can't control. The investor focused on cash flow is building a predictable income stream right now, with appreciation being a potential bonus later. Focus on income first.
So for someone starting out wanting that cash flow, what's the recommended strategy? Buy a huge apartment building.
No, start simple. The sources strongly advise gain control of one single-family home.
Just one. Why a single-family home?
They're generally easier to finance, easier to manage, easier to rent, and easier to sell later if needed, compared to multifamily units or commercial property, especially for a beginner. Keep it manageable initially.
And where should this house be? Prime location, luxury neighborhood?
Not necessarily. Look for a solid, stable neighborhood. Good schools, low crime, decent job market nearby. Doesn't have to be fancy, just consistently desirable for renters. Reliability over glamour.
Okay, find one solid house. What about financing? Pay cash, big down payment.
Here's where leverage comes in strategically. The advice is often to make the smallest down payment possible, ideally using FHA loans, VA loans if applicable, or other programs that allow for low or even zero down payments.
Why put down less? Isn't that riskier?
It preserves your capital for other opportunities or repairs. The goal is to control the income-producing asset with minimal upfront cash outlay. You let the tenant's rent pay off the mortgage over time. It magnifies your return on the actual cash you invested.
Okay, so control the house with minimal down payment, then rent it out.
At a rate that comfortably covers all the PITI, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, plus a budget for maintenance, repairs, and potential vacancies. And crucially, it must still generate some positive cash flow each month, even if it's just $100 or $200 to start.
That doesn't sound like much. How does $200 a month lead to financial freedom?
Through scaling and leveraging. That $200 a month is $2,400 a year in pure passive profit from property, #1. You don't spend it, you save it diligently.
Save it for what?
You let that cash flow accumulate until it forms the down payment for your second rental property. Then you repeat the process. Property #1 and property #2 are now generating cash flow, accelerating your savings for the down payment on property #3.
So you use the assets themselves to acquire more assets.
Exactly. You're using the income streams from the properties plus the debt paydown happening via rent plus potential appreciation to leverage your way into controlling more and more cash flowing properties. The goal isn't just one house, it's building a portfolio.
What's a realistic portfolio size for achieving that freedom goal?
The sources often suggest aiming for somewhere between 6 to 8 well-chosen self-sustaining single-family rentals. At that point, the combined positive cash flow should typically be substantial enough to provide a significant degree of financial freedom.
Now, renting out houses. That sounds like dealing with tenants, repairs, late-night calls. That doesn't sound very passive.
You're right. Real estate fundamentally is a people business. You're dealing with sellers, buyers, and especially tenants, all with their own motivations and issues. Managing this effectively requires specific principles.
What's the number one rule?
The cardinal rule, emphasized strongly: never, ever rent to anyone you know personally. No friends, no family, no coworkers.
Why such a hard line? Seems convenient sometimes.
Because it inevitably blurs the lines between your personal relationship and the business contract. What happens when your friend is late on rent? Or your cousin damages the property? It becomes incredibly awkward, emotionally charged, and makes enforcing the lease terms, like eviction if necessary, almost impossible without destroying the relationship. Keep it strictly business with strangers.
Yeah, okay, no renting to friends. How do you keep the rest of it passive? The clogged toilets at 2 a.m.
You hire a professional property manager. This is non-negotiable if your goal is true passive income.
But they take a cut, right? Doesn't that eat into your profits?
Yes, they typically charge a percentage of the gross monthly rent, often somewhere between 10% and maybe up to 30% in some high-service situations like vacation rentals. But you absolutely must budget for this cost from day one.
Why is it so essential?
Because they handle everything that makes landlording an active job. Advertising vacancies, screening tenants, collecting rent, handling complaints, coordinating maintenance and repairs, dealing with evictions if needed. They take the day-to-day headaches off your plate entirely. That fee is the price you pay to keep the income stream passive rather than accidentally creating a second, very demanding job for yourself.
What if you're doing something more high-touch, like short-term vacation rentals, Airbnb, VRBO? Can you self-manage then?
You can, but you have to go into it with eyes wide open. If you self-manage a vacation rental, you are no longer just a landlord. You are running a hospitality business.
Like a mini hotel manager.
Exactly. Guest expectations are much higher. Communication needs to be constant and crystal clear, detailed instructions for check-in, check-out, house rules, Wi-Fi passwords. The sources say failure to communicate clearly is the #1 driver of bad reviews and refund requests.
And maintenance is even more critical.
Absolutely crucial. You need rigorous preventative maintenance. Check everything between guests. The sources estimate something like 95% of common guest complaints: leaky faucet, weird noise from the heater, finicky lock, appliance not working, are things that could have been caught and fixed before the guest arrived.
And fixing it preventatively avoids
the dreaded middle-of-the-night emergency call, the need to pay double overtime rates for an emergency plumber, and the potential need to refund the guest for their ruined stay. Preventative maintenance in vacation rentals isn't just good service. It's essential for protecting your cash flow and keeping the operation somewhat passive.
Okay, we've looked at building things online and investing in traditional assets like stocks and real estate. Now let's move into what the sources called advanced leveraging models. These seem to carry maybe more potential, but also more complexity or controversy. First up, multi-level marketing, or MLM, also known as direct sales or network marketing.
Right, and we need to tread carefully here because MLM is, as you said, often controversial. It's important to understand the structure and the distinctions.
So what is the basic structure?
In a typical MLM model, distributors have two primary functions. First, they sell the company's products or services directly to consumers. Second, they recruit other people to also become distributors.
And those recruits form their downline.
Exactly. Your downline is the network of distributors you've brought into the business and potentially the distributors they've brought in and so on down multiple levels.
And where does the income come from? Especially the passive part.
Commissions are usually earned in two ways: from your own personal sales to customers. And this is the key part for potential passive income from overrides or commissions based on the sales volume generated by your entire downline network. That downline residual is the theoretical passive stream.
Okay, but the controversy. It often comes from confusion with illegal pyramid schemes, right? How do you tell the difference? What's the absolute red flag?
The distinction is critical and legally quite clear, though sometimes blurred in practice. The ultimate red flag is this: If the primary way distributors earn money is by recruiting more distributors into the system, and they get paid based on the number of people recruited or entry fees paid, rather than on the actual volume of products or services sold to the public.
Then it's likely a pyramid scheme.
Highly likely, yes. A legitimate MLM must have real products or services that actual customers, people outside the distributor network, are buying and using because they see value in them. The compensation plan must be predominantly driven by sales to end consumers, not just by internal consumption by distributors or recruitment fees.
That makes sense. But let me push back a bit here, based on the sources. They cited statistics suggesting that statistically, the vast majority of MLM distributors, something like 99%, never actually earn a net profit. Fewer than 1% make significant money.
Those statistics are generally accurate and quite sobering. They absolutely need to be acknowledged upfront.
So if the odds of success are so incredibly low, why even include MLM in a discussion about building passive income? Isn't it more likely to be a path to losing money?
It's included because, while success is rare, the model itself, when executed successfully by that tiny percentage, can generate substantial, ongoing passive income. It highlights the extreme effort involved. MLM is absolutely not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not a lottery ticket.
It's a business model that requires immense work.
Immense, highly specialized work. The sources suggest it typically takes 3 to 5 years of intense, concentrated, active effort, constant prospecting, recruiting, training, motivating your downline to build a network large and productive enough to generate true walk-away residual income.
So it's passive eventually, for the very few who succeed, but incredibly active for a long time beforehand.
Precisely. We include it because the potential for passive leverage exists within the model, but listeners absolutely must understand the statistical realities and the massive, upfront active commitment required. It's a high-risk, high-effort path.
So if someone is considering MLM, success really hinges on building and supporting that downline.
That's where the leverage is. The real passive potential isn't just in your own sales. It's in successfully recruiting, training, and motivating a team of people who are also successfully selling products to the public. Your income becomes leverage across their efforts.
What should be on their due diligence checklist before joining any MLM?
Definitely research the company's history and track record. How long have they been around? Are there lawsuits or regulatory actions against them? Crucially, investigate how much product is actually being sold to real customers versus just being bought by distributors to meet quotas or qualify for commissions.
Look for external demand.
Yes. Also, compare the product pricing. Is it competitive with similar items available elsewhere, or is it significantly inflated to fund the commission structure? And carefully analyze the compensation plan. Does your ability to earn rely heavily on constantly recruiting new people? If recruitment stops, does your income potential dry up?
That last point seems key to distinguishing it from a real business.
It is. A sustainable business relies on ongoing customer sales, not just perpetual recruitment. And finally, self-protection rules. We mentioned never paying upfront fees just to join. And crucially, do not quit your day job based on the promise of future MLM riches. Only consider reducing your active work once your MLM income is stable, predictable, and demonstrably equal to or greater than what you're currently earning. Be extremely cautious. #B, franchising your business, becoming the franchiser.
Okay, MLM is one high-leverage, high-risk model. Let's look at the final one, franchising. But here, we're flipping the script. We're not talking about buying a franchise, but about taking your own successful business and becoming the franchiser.
Exactly. This is about turning your proven business system into a model that others can buy and replicate, allowing you to expand rapidly while generating passive income.
How does that passive income work for the franchiser?
The franchisor licenses their established brand name, their trademarks, their operating procedures, training systems, and ongoing support to an independent operator, the franchisee. In return, the franchise pays the franchisor ongoing royalty fees, typically calculated as a percentage of the franchisee's gross revenue.
So the franchisor gets a cut of the sales from businesses they don't directly operate day to day. That sounds pretty passive.
It can be, once the system is well established. The primary financial advantage for the franchisor is leveraging OPM, other people's money.
Other people's money. How so?
Think about expansion. If you want to open 10 new locations of your successful local business yourself, you need a massive amount of capital for build-outs, equipment, inventory, staffing for all 10. The risk is entirely yours.
Right, huge upfront cost and risk.
But if you franchise, the franchisee provides the capital to open their location. They pay for the build-out, they buy the equipment, they hire the staff, they assume the direct financial risk and liability, for that specific unit, they're the ones signing the lease, for instance.
So the franchisors can expand the brand's footprint much faster
Yeah.
and with far less of their own capital tied up in each location.
Exactly. Your risk is limited mainly to ensuring the franchisee follows the system and protecting the brand's reputation. You gain passive royalty streams from locations you didn't have to personally fund or build. It's powerful leverage.
And there's another big advantage mentioned: motivated management.
Yes, this is huge operationally. A franchisee is not just a hired manager, they are an owner. They've likely invested a significant chunk of their life savings, maybe taken out loans, committed years of their life to making this specific location succeed.
They have serious skin in the game.
Far more than a typical salaried manager. This owner's mentality means franchisees are inherently more motivated to control costs, drive sales, maintain quality standards, and solve problems proactively. The sources estimate that franchise-run units often generate 10% to 30% higher revenue and operate more efficiently than comparable company-managed stores for this reason alone.
Okay, the benefits are clear. But not every successful business can or should be franchised. What are the essential criteria? How do you know if your business is potentially franchisable?
The sources lay out 3 key criteria that must be met. First, credibility and a strong return on investment, ROI, for the franchisee.
Meaning the original business has to be solidly profitable already.
Yes, and not just profitable, but profitable enough that after the franchisee pays all their operating costs and pays you, the franchisor, your ongoing royalty fees, they can still realistically expect to earn a substantial return on their own invested capital. Often, this needs to be around 20% ROI or more annually to attract qualified franchisees. If your core business has thin margins, it won't work as a franchise.
Okay, must be demonstrable profitable. Second criterion.
A clear, unique selling proposition, USP. Your business concept needs to be distinct enough to stand out in the marketplace.
What makes it special?
It could be a proprietary product, a unique service model, like that niche accounting service for solar installers example, a strong brand identity, a particularly efficient operating system. Whatever it is, the franchisee needs a compelling reason why customers will choose their franchise location over established competitors. It can't just be a generic commodity business.
Needs a defensible edge.
Okay.
Profitability, uniqueness.
Mm-hmm.
What's the third criterion?
The system must have a relatively low barrier to entry in terms of complexity and transferability. The entire business model, operations, marketing, management must be systematized, documented, and teachable.
Meaning it can't rely on the founder's personal magic touch.
Exactly. This is where many labors of love fail the franchise test. Think about that complex writing academy example. If the business's success depends entirely on the founder's unique, intuitive gift for training difficult horses, you can't just package that genius into a manual and teach it to a franchisee in a few weeks.
The system has to be replicable by a reasonably competent person after training.
Right. It needs to be simple enough to learn and execute consistently. Complexity is the enemy of scalability in franchising. The simpler and more documented the system, the easier it is to train franchisees and ensure brand consistency, which is crucial for the franchisor's passive income stream.
Wow, we've covered a massive amount of ground. From the absolute necessity of eliminating consumer debt, through building digital empires with e-commerce and affiliate marketing, navigating stocks and real estate, and even leveraging complex models like MLM and franchising. Let's wrap up by focusing on the ultimate why behind all this effort: building a passive income legacy.
Right. Because passive income isn't just about supporting yourself comfortably during your working years, it's also about creating something lasting, something that can potentially benefit others even after you're gone.
But legacy planning, it seems like something people put off. The sources mentioned procrastination is a huge issue here.
It really is. The data shows that while most affluent people intend to leave an inheritance or make financial plans for the future, a surprisingly large number, yet maybe 1 in 4, haven't actually started the formal planning process.
Why not? What are the excuses?
Common reasons are feeling like their estate is too small to worry about or thinking it's too complicated, or just the classic, haven't gotten around to it yet.
Yeah.
But this delay, this denial, often creates significant headaches and unnecessary costs, legal fees, avoidable taxes for their heirs down the line.
So how do you cut through that procrastination? How do you get started thinking about the legacy in a structured way?
You need a clear sense of direction. The sources suggest using a kind of passive income GPS. It boils down to asking yourself 4 essential financial questions on a regular basis.
Okay, what are the 4 GPS questions?
Question 1, where do you ultimately want to be financially? Define the destination. Is it achieving $50,000 a year in passive income? $200,000? Paying for grandkids' college? Funding a charity? Get specific.
Okay, know your destination. Question 2.
How much time do you realistically have to get there? And starting at 25 with 40 years ahead, or at 55 with maybe 10, 15 years until retirement? Your time frame drastically impacts the urgency and the types of strategies you can employ.
Destination, time frame. Question 3.
Where are you right now? This is an honest assessment of your current financial situation, your assets, your liabilities, your income, your expenses, your existing passive streams, if any. You need an accurate starting point.
Makes sense. And the final question.
Question 4. What vehicles, what strategies and tools give you the best chance of getting from where you are now, Q3, to where you want to be, Q1, in the time you have, Q2? This is where you choose the specific passive income streams and investment approaches we've discussed, digital, stocks, real estate, etc., that align with your goals and timeline. #B, life insurance and estate planning.
That GPS provides a great framework. Now, when thinking specifically about leaving a legacy, passing wealth on, the sources highlighted one vehicle quite strongly: life insurance.
Yes, life insurance can be a very effective tool in estate planning, primarily because the death benefit payout is generally received income tax-free by the beneficiaries. It provides immediate tax-advantaged cash for heirs.
There are different types, though. The main distinction is term versus permanent.
That's the fundamental split. Term insurance is pure, simple life insurance coverage. You buy it for a specific period, the term typically 10, 20, or 30 years. If you pass away during that term, your beneficiaries get the payout. If you outlive the term, the policy expires, usually worthless.
So it's like renting insurance coverage.
Yeah.
Cheaper.
Much cheaper, especially when you're younger and healthier, because you're only paying for the death benefit protection, nothing else.
And the other type is permanent, like whole life.
Right. Permanent insurance, including whole life, universal life, etc., is designed to cover you for your entire life, as long as premiums are paid. It's significantly more expensive than term because it combines the death benefit with a savings or investment component called cash value, which grows tax-deferred over time.
So it bundles insurance and investment. Sounds appealing.
It can sound appealing, but the sources delivered some pretty blunt advice here.
What was the famous line?
Never buy whole life insurance in your whole life.
That's pretty direct. Why such strong advice against it?
Generally, because for most people, you're better off buying the cheaper term insurance to cover your temporary needs, like while kids are young or mortgage is high, and investing the difference in premiums yourself in lower cost, potentially higher return investments like index funds or real estate. The fees and lower growth rates, often associated with the investment component of whole life policies, can make them less efficient for wealth building compared to buying term and investing separately.
Are there any situations where permanent insurance makes sense?
The main exceptions might be for very high net worth individuals using it for complex estate tax planning, or potentially for older individuals, say over 65 or 70, who still need coverage but may no longer qualify for affordable term insurance due to age or health issues. But for the vast majority, buy term and invest the difference is usually the more financially sound strategy.
Okay, sticking with term for most people. For those who do build substantial wealth through these passive streams and are concerned about estate taxes, there was an advanced strategy mentioned, the ILA.
Yes, the Irrevocable Life Insurance Trust, ILIT. This is a crucial tool for people whose estates are likely to exceed the federal estate tax exemption limits, which are currently very high but can change.
How does an ILIT work to save on taxes?
It's about ownership. Instead of you personally owning the life insurance policy, you create a special type of trust, the ILIT, and transfer ownership of the policy to the trust, or the trust buys the policy directly.
So the trust owns the policy, not you. Why does that matter?
Because when you pass away, the life insurance death benefit is paid directly to the trust, not to your estate. Since you didn't legally own the policy at the time of your death, the proceeds are generally excluded from your taxable estate.
Meaning that potentially huge life insurance payout doesn't get hit by estate taxes.
Exactly. It completely bypasses the federal estate tax, which can currently run as high as 40%. This ensures the full intended amount of the insurance proceeds goes to your beneficiaries, as directed by the trust document, 100% estate tax-free. It's a powerful way to provide liquidity and preserve wealth for the next generation, especially for larger estates. #tag C. Final provocative thought.
That's a fantastic strategy for preserving the legacy you built, which really brings us full circle back to the core purpose, Building passive income ultimately isn't just about the numbers on a spreadsheet or accumulating wealth for its own sake.
No, it's about what that wealth enables. It's about achieving the freedom to pursue your own personal goals, whatever those may be. Maybe it's philanthropy, maybe it's spending more time with family, maybe it's pursuing a creative passion, or maybe it is about building that generational legacy.
The sources shared that story about Janice, the engineer, and that seemed like a perfect example.
It really encapsulated the journer. She spent decades building valuable, deep technical skills as a mechanical engineer. That was her active career. But then she didn't just retire. She leveraged those skills, her knowledge, her problem-solving abilities to start a completely different venture. A high-end, niche tutoring business focused on engineering concepts.
And she didn't necessarily need the income from that tutoring business for her own living expenses.
Apparently not. Her goal was different. She built that tutoring business actively, systematized its operations so it could run without her direct involvement, and then sold the business for a significant sum.
So she converted her active business asset into liquid capital.
Exactly. And then she took those proceeds from the sale and used them to create self-sustaining, passive investment legacies, likely portfolios of stocks, bonds, maybe real estate specifically for her children and grandchildren.
Wow. So her focus shifted entirely from self-support to ensuring generational freedom.
That's the ultimate application. She recognized the value in her accumulated skills, packaged it into a scalable income stream, the business, converted that stream into a capital asset through the sale, and then deployed that capital into financial assets designed to provide passive income and growth for generations to come. That's the power of strategic thinking applied over a lifetime.
It really shows that the destination, that point of freedom, looks different for everyone.
Absolutely. Your end goal might be very different from Janice's, but the process of getting there, building those income streams, whether digital or traditional, requires the same core elements: patience, discipline, continuous learning, and constant forward movement, even when it's challenging.
So the final challenge for everyone listening today
Is to take an honest look at your own unique combination of skills, interests, passions, and experiences right now. Ask yourself, which one of these offers the path of least resistance, the lowest barrier for you, to start generating that very first trickle of truly passive income?
because that first dollar earned while you weren't actively working.
That first dollar earned while you sleep or while you're eating dinner, that's often the hardest one to achieve. But it's also the most important. It proves the concept is real, and it ignites the motivation to build the next dream and the next. Find your starting point today.